just got back into it. Yeah, so I did it at home, but I was kind of structured. Yeah. Like I was like bend down all the time, but hard to look.
Oh. Yeah. There we go. All right. All righty then. Let us begin. Week 10. So I have a few, several announcements. Announcement number 1. And I'm just gonna, share a personal story of mine as my journey through as a student at Seneca College taking computer programming analysis. I got almost straight A's. There were 2 or 3 courses where I either got D or F's because I didn't write the exam or I just did crappy. So what ended up happening was I graduated from Seneca, but every time I needed a transfer from Seneca, it gave me my courses that I failed along with the F's and D's. And I wish I knew, I wish somebody told me, I wish someone said, you know what, you have the option to drop that course right now at before November 15, so that it will never appear on your transcript. So here at Georgian College, November 15 is the due date. If you're, I'm not talking to anyone here. I'm talking to the people listening, really. But so there's only 36% more marks left to go in this class, not including bonus marks. So if you're like at a lower percentage, and if you add 36 and you're still not meeting 50, or that's assuming you get perfect at 36. Let's assume you get half that. Ask yourself if you want to drop before November 15. That's all I want to say. Okay. Oh yeah, I did say something where if you think you have enough bonus marks that you can skip the presentation, you can do that. So you could consider that a bonus, that you did so well that you could just not do the presentation. However, you can still do the presentation for the sake of learning. That's fine too. And to share with the class what you learned. That's great. So as you know, I said an announcement where I changed all the due dates for quizzes, labs, and exercises to the last day of class at midnight. After midnight, everything is hidden in Blackboard. I've programmed it to automatically hide, so you can't go back and try to boost your mark. So I have to basically submit your final marks to Banner right after that. I have here presentation posted. Oh, okay, so in your assignments, I actually put a Word document for the presentation, which gives you the rubric of what we're looking for. So let me just open it up real quick. Enable editing. Let's just magnify that. Ooh. So basically, just give a 15 to 20-minute tutorial of and try to do a live demonstration if you can. So like whatever topic you're doing, try to code live and show us what you got. That's worth 10%. What else? What else? Submit your work on Blackboard, all your files. You'll be marked within the following criteria: class engagement, quality of research, presentation material, demo application. Yeah. And I decided also that this 10% will be composed of 7% me and 7% everyone else. So all of you have a chance to grade each other. Okay. And so this is your schedule so far. Please email me if I'm wrong. If I miss somebody, if I'm missing people, let me know. If you want to switch, let me know. Also, regarding your presentation, show of hands, who's heard of lynda.com? All right, you can use that to help you, right? So if you have a topic, you can see what Lynda has to offer. Right, so I had in the last lab, I had one student email me the lab, but it's using my email template from the pure CSS. Don't do that. I said, you know, don't do that or else you get a 0. Just email me your template. What is this? Oh yeah, and I changed one thing in the assignment again for assignment number 2, because I realized something. For the 50-50, this one number 5, 50-50, it did say use math.random or some method in Lodash to get some random answers removed. But I realized that because of the shuffle method that we did, that's already randomized. So you don't necessarily have to do another random on top of another random. It's because it's already randomized. So whatever pseudocode, whatever code you do, that should be fine in 50-50. And that's all I have to say about that. Any questions or comments so far? Hey, Josh. Yeah. Yeah, you could do that. Or to save time, I know there's another website, sort of like CodePen, called Code Sandbox, that you can actually have NPM on there installed already through a website. So it's kind of neat. So if you just gave a link to your codesandbox.io, whatever, then everything's there already. That's another possibility. But yeah, I mean, if you want to do the old-fashioned way, that's cool too. Whatever you want to do. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So this class, we are going to just focus on the Ask the Audience feature. Okay. I like this feature because it kind of summarizes your whole experience here at Georgian. You're going to use your courses from Comp 1006 PHP. You're going to use your course for Comp 2000 whatever for MySQL. And this is also a good preparation for your next course in the winter with Rich Freeman, where you're doing Node and Angular. So this is a nice thing that we're doing today. It'll summarize a lot of stuff, and we'll get into a little bit more deeper about get and post and all that. So we're gonna focus on the Ask the Audience feature first, and then once that's done, hopefully we'll have time to look at the Vue CLI, which is the way to actually structure Vue apps from a more larger professional way, rather than what we're doing, which is the script way. But again, the way we're doing it, it's fine too if you're doing small things. But that's what I love about Vue, is that it's approachable. You can start off small, and then you can hop onto how the big boys do it using the Vue CLI. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use a charting library to display results. So if you have my slides in front of you, go ahead and click on this CodePen here. And what we are going to do, is let's go to open up another tab, and let's open up, just go to zingcharts.com. There's so many charting libraries in JavaScript land, it's crazy. So I just chose this one, ZingChart, only because CodePen also has it in the quick drop-down menu. And once you're at ZingChart, I want you to click on this link right here called Docs. Click on Docs. Docs. And then there's another link here called Your First Chart. So as you can see here, this is what our chart is going to look like for the Ask the Audience once all the votes are tallied in and you have the results of votes. I want my chart to look like a bar graph with just A, B, C, or D. So let's play with this. Let's see if we can get this up and running in our CodePen. And I was going to say something again. And I just missed something. Okay, it'll probably come back to me. Yeah, okay, so if you scroll down a bit, you'll see some HTML markup. So this, I just want you to copy this HTML markup and put it into your CodePen inside the HTML part. Paste it in, and you should see exactly what they have there. So let's just examine this a little bit. Actually, can I ask everyone to move all the JavaScript stuff inside? So cut the JavaScript code from the HTML and put it. What was that? Oh, router grab it. Yeah. So here in Zing charts, right? You have this page. Click on your first chart here. When you click on Docs, then if you click on Docs, up above. Oh, it's linked on my slides as well. I'm good. Okay. Oh yeah. So click on this one here. Go to Zing charts. That link will take you right there. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, if everyone can just cut off the JavaScript code from the HTML section and just put it in the JavaScript section below my notes there. Oh, that's what I want to say. So right now, we're kind of working backwards just to play with the chart, because once we get to be more familiar with the chart and know how it works, then we can input it the values that we want, and it should work out. So we're kind of working backwards right now, and then we'll start forward at the beginning again. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is slim it down to only one series of bars. So right now you'll see there's two. What do you think I should do based on the JavaScript code? How can I delete that red series of bars? Yeah. Yeah, so get rid of the second value. So let's delete that. Let's see what that does. Let's play with that. See if that does. Yep. Great. Woohoo. Next thing I want you to do is put labels A, B, C, D on the bottom. Now, you could read the documentation. I will give you the code to do that right now. So in my CodePen, I have secretly placed under the CSS section the code on how to do the labels. So you'll see here where it says scale X, copy that whole scale X all the way down through the plot to the ending bracket for the plot. Okay, so cut or copy that. By the way, you don't need the plot. You could very well just copy the scale X bracket and that would work. The only reason why I put this plot here was because of the animation effect that you get. So this will also animate in addition to showing you the bar graph. So every time it gets a new value, it'll animate. So copy that, and where you paste it is right underneath this series. So after the series ending bracket, put a comma, and then paste what you just copied. You should still see everything, but you'll notice when you pasted it, you might see a little animation effect. Let me see if I can do that. So if I press enter in CodePen, enter, it should reload there. See, it kind of animated itself. So every time it gets new values, it will kind of animate itself. Cool. Next thing. Okay, step number 4. Let's try to integrate it with our own values. So I've given you, up top of the JavaScript section, I've given you a sample array called votes, where A has 1 vote, B has 2 votes, C has 3 votes, D has 4 votes. Okay, you could change those values if you want. Actually, maybe we should change the values because, yeah, well, it doesn't matter. So I want you, how do you think we can integrate? First of all, the question is, where in the JavaScript is the line, what line number or what line of code is responsible, do you think, for displaying those bars? Yeah, Jaden. Yeah, this value's here. So this values, as you can see, has four numbers. So obviously, if we change like 89 to like 22 or something, it should, there, see, it changed the D value. Okay, so now how, if this was our, let's say this array was some JSON data that we fetched, how can we display values? So take a couple of minutes before I give you the answer. Take a couple of minutes and try yourself to get these values of 1, 2, 3, 4 to be here. So substitute 35 with what you think should be the statement there. So substitute 35, substitute 42, substitute 67, substitute 22 with what you think should be the case. Do that a couple of minutes. I'll ask what you think. If there's any questions so far, I can come around if you're stuck on something. All right, so what did you guys put? Let me ask, what do you think, Joel? Yeah, 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 okay. All right, so pretty basic. So we can do that for the rest of them. Votes. Zoom in, yes, thank you. Zoom, zoom. Is that a good, or one more, maybe? So we can do the same thing for the rest of the values. So votes 1, votes 2, 3. And the cool thing about this is it kind of readjusts itself on the y-axis. It readjusts itself. So if you have like 100 here, let me just, instead of 1, I'll put 100. It'll look at the y-axis. It'll just automatically adjust itself, which I think is pretty cool. Oh, yours isn't showing up? Okay, I'll take a look. But yeah, so once you've got that, the next thing I want you to do is I want you to copy this data, and you're going to make your own API just for testing purposes. Okay, this is not going to be our true API for the game yet, but I'm introducing you to this tool because you may find this very useful in the future. It's called JSONbin.io. I'll be with you in a second, Vivian. Okay. So once you're there, the cool thing about this one is paste in your data. Where did it go? So copy what you think is the data, which should be the data. Just paste it in here, and I want you to click on this tidy JSON, and I want you to struggle with why it's not working. Oh, it's working now, Vivian? Okay, great. All right, so if I click on tidy JSON, okay, it gives you the error message, invalid JSON. And so this is something that we haven't really touched upon because we've never really had to create our own JSON before. But JSON, if you recall, one of our earlier classes, is different from our JavaScript objects that we actually have in JavaScript code because JSON has different syntax and JSON cannot carry functions, right? Because in regular JavaScript, you could have property, an object, a property, a value, a property, a function with that property. In JSON, you can't have that. Also, JSON, there's certain rules in terms of the syntax. Now, when I click on tidy JSON, it says, invalid JSON, try our JSON validator. Okay, let's try that. So when you click on tidy JSON, click on this, JSON validator. There, now we're presented with another screen. Okay, now paste in your data again, and this time it'll tell you what's wrong with your JSON data. Okay, so there's a button here called validate JSON. I click it, and it says parse error on line 2. What did it say here? Parse line. Okay, so there's an arrow right there before the A. It's pointing at this character. I think it doesn't like that character. Yeah, so one of the rules about JSON is it doesn't like single quotes. It only likes double quotes. So you have to now translate every single quote in there into double quotes. That's one thing. So let's do that. A, B, B, B. So I replaced all the single quotes with a double quote. And now if I click on the validate JSON, what does it say? Oh, I missed one. Double quote there. One too many double quotes. Okay, try it again. Validate JSON. Okay, now it's complaining about my semicolon. So JSON doesn't want semicolons. Okay, so if I take away the semicolon, now if I validate JSON, does it like it? Yes, JSON validated successfully. I get the green message. Everything's good to go. So I just wanted to go. I just wanted you to kind of struggle with that and let you know that JSON is different from our usual JavaScript objects in that the syntax is different and the functions are not there. So now you can copy the validated JSON, click on the back button for your browser, replace what you had before with your validated JSON, and then click tidy JSON, and then click the create button right here. So when you click on the create button, you will be presented with a URL at the bottom here, access URL. You can copy that, and now you can fetch from that. You can fetch from that URL and get your own JSON data too, which I think is really cool. So if you need a place in the future, if you're developing something in JavaScript and you need, or not even JavaScript, it could be any language really, and you need like a real fast tool because you just want to see if your fetch works, use JSON bin. Question, yeah. Good question. I do know that you can actually sign up with your own account. Because we didn't sign in and we just created it, my guess is it'll be there forever. Because until I don't think, yeah, I don't know what the oh, there, frequently asked questions. Maybe your question is here. Pricing, no, not pricing. Yeah, I don't know. Good question. It's just really mainly used for like a quick testing thing. Okay. So now that we have our JSON data, go ahead and copy that URL. Copy that URL. And I want you to use async await and fetch so that your votes array back in CodePen. So comment out your let votes equals. Okay, you could just say let votes equals empty array. That's fine. And now I want you to the next few minutes try to create your own async await fetch function, which now fetches from your API that you just created to see if your graph bar graph shows up. Okay, so take like 5 minutes and see. I'll even set you up here. So here's our async function. So you have to say async function get votes. There you go. Right. Then say something like this: const response equals await fetch, and then inside that fetch put your endpoint in there. And after that, I'll just put some dots there for now. And after that, you can say my votes array equals await response.json. You can console log your votes just to see if you got it. We'll see if that works. What is mine? Mine is this one here. So if I copy and put it in my fetch. Work. Oh, yeah. I have to call the function, don't I? Let's say get votes. Ah. All right, so mine worked. As you can see in my console, I have my stuff. So I'll wait till you guys. I'll wait till you get till the majority of you have that as well. Guys. Dude. Who's talking there? Okay, and we're talking. Show of hands, who's got it? Woohoo! Awesome. Yeah. So please help the other people, just like Joel's doing now. Please help the other people in your table group, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. If you got it. You got it, Umar? Work? Awesome. That, you got it? No? Okay, I'll come around. Yeah. One thing you may need to do is you may need to insert the HTTPS colon, because when you copied your API URL, it did not come with the protocol. It just said, / instead of HTTPS colon // So you may have to physically type the HTTPS colon. Okay. Show of hands, who's got it? Woo, awesome. Okay. Next thing. So let me finish code. Now let me just do this. You don't have to do this. You could just watch. Let me kind of fake some live voting action with a set timeout. Okay. So again, you don't have to do this, but just keep this in mind. So let me take out my let votes is equals empty array. I'm going to uncomment my original let votes with the array of data. Okay. Then, so as you can see, the bar graph here is the original stuff. Now, what I want to do is I just want to see the animation kind of work its magic when it gets, it starts off with one pair of data, maybe 2 seconds later, it fetches again, and I want to see the animation happen. Okay, again, you don't have to do this. Just kind of watch. So let's pretend that we start off with, I don't know, the opposite. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, start with that. And then let's do a set timeout. Set timeout, which means this following code will run after so many seconds. So we'll give it after 3 seconds, which is 3,000 milliseconds. We're going to run the gets vote function again in 3 seconds. And I want also the get votes, the draw chart function. Notice if I scroll down here, oh, hold on. No, I need to encapsulate this whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to encapsulate all of this Zing chart stuff in the function. Okay, I'm going to say function draw chart. Okay, and then I'm going to close it off at the bottom. Okay, and now I'm going to call that within my fetch. I think. Where's my fetch? Here. Draw chart. And also I'm going to call it right after here. What it's doing is, okay, there. I don't know if you saw that. Let me change it again. Say 2 seconds. So it starts off with the first one, 1, 2, fetches, and then does something else. So that's what I want to see, just to see if the animation work. Right? So it's doing the first array first, fetches 3 seconds later, displays the new data. Okay, that's cool. I just wanted to let that out there in case for your assignment, you know, when you press the Ask the Audience button, it has that piece of music which allows the audience to vote, which is 16 seconds long. And so what you could do in your assignment is, you know, after 16,000 milliseconds, then draw the chart. That's the whole point of me saying that. Okay. Or another way you could do it is if you wanted to see like a Kahoot style where it's live voting each second, you could, instead of set timeout, you could say set interval every 1,000 milliseconds. So every second, it'll actually run the fetch. And so if there's new votes that come in, it'll display the latest results. You could do that too if you want. All right, so that is that. So again, that was just an introduction to a charting library. There's tons of charting libraries out there. They all basically work kind of the same way, and you just have to substitute the right values. Okay. So any questions on that so far? Yeah, let me save that right now. Save. There we go. Save. It's now saved in my CodePen. Okay, so we're going to take us in a different journey now. Okay, so we started at the end. I want us to take us at the very beginning, where the user, the audience, gets to vote. Okay, so what do we need for that? We need a basic HTML page, and we need some way to pass in the data. Okay, so for now, if you open up, actually, before I even go there, let me just do a little bit of theory first. I think I had a slide here somewhere. Oh, yeah, I want to ask this one. Question, trivia question. Oh, you know what? I forgot my stickers. I got a bunch of coding laptop stickers that I was going to use for prizes today. Yeah, maybe I'll use that even though I don't have it right now. So here, I'll give you a sticker. So for this question, so we've learned that if you type in a web address in the web URL browser, it'll do a GET request. Yes, yes. We've learned that fetch can also do a GET request in the JavaScript, right? Yes. Here's the question: what native HTML tag can send either a GET or POST request? Yes, form, right? So, okay, both of you. I'll give the sticker to both of you. All right, so you both. Right. So let's take just a closer look at the form stuff. So, if you open up my GitHub repo, if you've downloaded my GitHub repo, you will see one page there, or called vote.html. So I want you to download that locally. So if you open vote.html, just copy the HTML there, create your own HTML file called vote.html in VS Code, and paste in my markup. It's in my where did it go? It's under my week 10, so my week 10 folder, and it's called vote.html. Just that file, yeah. Just make your own local HTML file called vote.html and copy and paste my markup, put it there, and open it up. Look like this. I just put a fancy background. That's it. I also use some basic animations, which you'll learn next class with me. So if you look at the markup in VS Code, you'll see that it's very, very basic. There's nothing really there, right? So the questions I have for you is the following. Actually, maybe I should do this first. Let me just talk about this next slide for a second. So get post request a little bit more in depth. There was this link that I saw, which I will open up. You don't have to open this up. You can just look. And it talks about the basics of HTTP. So I just want to go over get and post a little bit more in depth, because there's one thing in here that talks about submitting HTML form data. So whenever you create a form like this in HTML, what ends up happening is, and if you look closely here, what ends up happening is the data that you typed into the input tags gets sent in the request itself. So let's take a look at what happens with this form when you click on the submit button. It does this. Hey, where'd it go? Yeah, this is the example one. So here is a basic form right here. And you can see here the username has an input type text, a name of user, that's going to be important later on. And also the password has an input with a name of PW. Okay. So when you click on the submit button, what ends up happening under the hood is the browser turns that into all of this. Okay, so it's saying get this. Okay, but notice here I want to point out this. Here's where the user comes in. So user equals whatever the user typed, and PW equals whatever the user typed. Now that's using the get request. And as you can see, this form here, the method is using get. Now most of the time it's not using get, it's using what? Post. So what that means is you don't see user equals Peter in the URL anymore. You see that rather in the, here's the post example. So here's the method using post, same example. But now the actual request looks like this, and the data gets sent, it's kind of hidden. It's still plain text, but it's hidden. It's not in the URL anymore. Okay? And I just wanted to delve deeper into that. So the question is, how do you think we can create our voting page given this page here? Okay, let's take a closer look. If I were to let's say just for now, let's okay, actually, if I don't put a method post here, if I just have method blank, what's the default? Does anyone know? It's get, right? If I don't have anything here in the action, where does it go? Action means where is the data sent to, which server. So I don't have anything there. Where does it go? Itself. Yeah. Okay. So so the question is, I don't have any visible input fields. So how are we going to pass in our vote of A, vote of B, vote of C, vote of D? What do you think? And I'll go back to the example that we just had here, and the answer is right here. Anyone know? You know about this, right? The type is equal. You've used type equals hidden, right? From Comp 1006. Have you ever used type hidden? So same thing. So this will, if we use type hidden and have our name equals, A and our value equals A, that should work, right? Let's test that theory out. So in your HTML page, okay, for now, let us, it'll be get for now, that's fine. Make some space here before the button, and we'll put in our own input. Now, the type is hidden. The name is, give it a name like A. The value is, okay. Let's just save that for now. And let's submit that form. I just want to see what happens. And right now, there's nothing in the method, so it's going to use the get, which means I should see these parameters in the URL. So let's go and open that up, refresh my page. I am going to click on A. I want your eyes to focus on the URL. Let's see if it worked. Click. There. You notice you have A equals A, right? So this first A came from our name. This second A came from our value. Right? So if we just changed our method to post, and you won't see it in the URL, but the data should still be sent. Question. So let's do that. Let's fill in the rest of the form like that. So go ahead and type in all the input tags necessary to. I think I made a mistake here. For the name, change that to vote instead of A. Just change that to vote because everything is going to have the same name. All these forms are going to have the same name of vote. Only difference is the value. So put in that. Change all the values to A, B, C, and D for each of them. It should look like this. Again, the name is vote for all of them. Only the value changes for each of them. All hidden input tags. Okay. What was that?
They're all above the button.
Yeah, they're all above the button. Okay. So just as a test to see if it's working, I'm just going to change my method from post back to get again. Or you could delete it, whatever. And I'm just going to go back to my form, refresh the page, click on all the buttons just to see if I get the URL to change appropriately. So refresh, click A. Aha, see, vote equals A right there, vote equals A. I'm going to click B, vote equals B. Click C, vote equals C. Click D, vote equals D. Okay, so hopefully everyone is there. Question, Jaden. I did it that way. You could do it. I suppose you could do it another way. Like, why? What were you thinking? What? How? Just one form? Yeah. You could do it. You could do it. Whatever way you choose to do it, just make sure at the end of the day it sends the right parameters. Vote equals A. That's all you care about is the vote equals A in the get or the post. So now that it works through the get, let's change it back to the post. Then the next thing is the action. So this is where we're going to tell the form, hey, send our data to our server, and our server will handle the rest. Okay. Let me introduce you to a couple of tools that you may find useful in the future. So the first one I'm going to show you is something called the REST extension. Stop me if I already said this in an earlier class. So in the extensions in VS Code, there's something called REST client. Did I ever talk about this one? REST client? Yes? No? No? Okay. So what's cool about this is this. So actually, maybe let me, before I show that, let me preface it with one YouTube clip, which I think is REST Telnet. I think is this one. I could be wrong.
Network security is important.
Whoa. Let me see if this is it. I don't even know if this is it. Has anyone ever telnetted anything before? Used telnet? Okay, so telnet is sort of like a tool which gets you to a lower level of the network layer so that you can pretend to be the browser, if you will. So here, this person is saying telnet to this web address at port 80, which is, I don't know what, it's probably a localhost something. And so imagine this is what the browser is doing under the hood, except he's manually typing it instead of the browser automating it. So he's saying, like, okay, wait, hold on, where's the get one? He did it, I thought he did a get one. Okay, this is probably the wrong one. Sorry, man, sorry, this is the wrong one. But what I wanted to kind of show you, except it was the wrong, is that when you physically type in get, shoot, here, let me just say this, okay. When you physically, let's imagine this put was a get. If you say get root, which means like index.html, and this is the protocol, HTTP1, as soon as you say entered, and then say enter again to create a new line, then you get the response back of all the HTML page that you requested, right? So whenever you say, you know, www.google.ca, what you're really saying is get google.ca HTTP 1.1, and then enter, and then Google sends you back the HTML markup. You could do that in VS Code with REST client. So if you do install this extension in VS Code, you don't have to do this now, but just know, what you could do is you could create a new file, new text file called whatever.http. And then here you can say get, you know, whatever HTTP/1.1, which is the protocol. And then you'll see this send request link right above it. So if you click it, watch what happens. Click. There, you get this response back. So this is what Google just gave me back. It gave me a response of 200 OK, which means yes, we're fine. We got the file. It gives you some header information, which you don't visibly see. And then the only thing you visibly see is the markup, the HTML markup after that. So this is the actual google.ca page right here. Woo. Right? So that's what's happening under the hood. Another tool that you may find useful, which you may use for next year's class of Node, something called Postman. So let me just show you, again, you don't have to do this, but in Chrome, maybe some other browsers as well, there's an app called Postman. So let me open up Postman. Oh, hold on, where'd it go? Postman. Oh, it's right here. It's already open. There it is. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a real quick GET request to my slides that I put in AWS Computer Studies for week 2. Can I zoom in? Yes. Well, I just put the link to my slides for this week, and I'm going to say send. So I'm doing a GET request on this link. Send. There. See? I get the markup back, right? That's my slides. So, but the cool thing about Postman is you can actually do a post, which is cool because you don't actually have to create a physical form in markup in order to figure out if it's working or not, right? So let's pretend we're doing a post. you can say, you can click on this body link right here, tab right here. And inside the body tab, you can actually pass in your username and password in JSON format. And it'll send the data to the server. And so when you click on send, maybe the server will send something back and you can see if it's right. So that's just a neat tool called Postman that you may find useful in the future. Okay, let me see here. And the final thing before break that I want to mention is this. So the whole point is we created this chart. And at the end of the day, both are going to go into our PHP, into our MySQL database. And then we're going to have a statement where the MySQL database is going to spit out all the voting results. And then PHP is going to spit that data in JSON format. So how does it do that? There's this one website here. Again, you don't have to do this. phpfiddle.org. Think of this as like CodePen for PHP. Let me magnify that. So if I type in something like, echo hi, hello world, which is classic, and then I run it, there it is. That's the output. Okay. Now, let's say I had a variable, an array, called votes equals an array. Inside that array, we'll have a key value pair, like voted, a tally 3. Okay. Then let's just print that out. Let's say, now you can't echo votes if it's an array. It won't like that. So you have to say like print R. I think. Be wrong. Well, let's try that. Run. Print R unexpected. Okay, maybe not. Is it var dump maybe? Totally forget. Like that either. Oh wait, you know what? It's a semicolon. That's why. Yeah, there you go. What does that look like to you? Actually, let me go back to my printer. My printer should work now because I put the semicolon here. So let me run it. There you go. What does that look like to you? This. Actually, I think I like the var dump better. I'm gonna get you to say the answer. There. What does this look like to you? Yeah, an object. So we're almost there. So what if I said this? The way to do out JSON in PHP is this: JSON underscore encode, and then in here give the array. Run that. Now you get JSON. But this is the technique we're going to use at the end of the day. So the votes are going to be entered into PHP server. PHP is going to put it in MySQL. And then when it's time to get the voting results, we're going to fetch another API, which will give us an array of objects just like this on the screen, which we can do something with to display the graph, the bar graph. That's the end game. Okay. Cool. Let me see here. So let's take a break for 15 minutes. During this break, I will come around to ensure that you can FTP to your AWS and stuff. So if you need me to make sure that you're up and running with all that, let me know. Yeah, so let's take a break for 15 minutes.
Well, you know what? I just cut off on my screen because it was on the side. It's the right side of the input. Yeah, let me show you again.
Let me do a view page source and magnify this. Okay. So the button was to the right hand side. Yeah, sorry about that.
No. Yeah. Correct. Yes. Yes. I was like, if it's going to be that way, I'm like, what I'm end up going to do, is before Ask an Audience. When you click on Ask the Audience, you're going to run another PHP script, which will drop the database, so it's gone, recreate the database, so it's recreated fresh, and then people send it. So that way, it's always accurate results. I see. Yeah. And then once it's done, then you press Ask the Audience again for the next game. It'll drop the database, print the database, recreate the database. I just wanted to do this just to show, hey, it's kind of neat that if here's some class they don't even have to do the same. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really cool. So what it does is it allows someone to debugging code that actually posts a live result that you can access for the users. So you can debug. That's a good question. It's kind of remind me of I didn't know we're going I guess for the games. Oh, yeah. I never think of that. Anyway, yeah, that's what I was. Yeah. Oh, did you want me to check to see if you're up already? Yeah, I was gonna get my credentials. Okay. Yeah. I'll see how you do it for him. Oh, okay.
Okay. Let me get my timer up. But this is good now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I'm gonna get my files rolled up just to see if there's any checkboxes you need to check.
That's cool. I guess we're get going where. Yeah, that's one.
Okay. So here was the. Well, I don't see any other checkbox. So why is it anonymous? Oh, is there one?
goes to the manager and just fill the form type of deal.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so if you were to, yeah, yeah. Okay, so that would be. Yeah.
Yeah. Should be the same thing.
Oh, so the same.
Yeah, same thing. So this is what I have in mind.
You went to advanced? Did you? Because this is the FTP.
Yeah, let me get my thoughts on
Oh, it's just site manager. Yeah, so, and then when you go to site manager, it's like, you create like a.
yeah. That's not.
Oh, I don't know, I thought there's all sorts of data.
No, that's good.
All your checking.
So I got my FileZilla up on my screen.
Yeah.
So go to file, site manager. So,
Yeah.
the whole, no, go back to your.
Yeah.
Does it have the, all that thing prior to it?
So you can put anything you want at the top one. The important thing is the host name and the username.
Yeah. No guarantee. Always trust.
Always trust when you get that computer hacked.
Always trust.
I don't log in at first. I'm logged in. That should be good. That should be good.
Are you? I'll come around.
Yes, it is.
Like, I had these credentials long ago.
They're,
But then,
they range. It's like,
Yeah, let me get my, I think this one, I think. I could be wrong. Let me get one.
No, we're talking about, like, when Down makes movies.
Yeah,
Just like take whatever's like, at hand and like vary it each day. Well, like, they have a garden, so they'll like freeze like spinach. You know? And they'll just put it in and be like, oh, you know, like, I have less grapes today.
yeah. Then my,
That's grapes. And like the sunflower seeds.
Sounds good.
It is good. But it also like rips right through me, so like I drink it before coming here.
Oh.
Like, honestly, I go through like an hour drive and like who I know like really soon I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Usually, what's it, that,
That's why I did every class. Like, I don't know.
and that's like,
You're done. Yes, always trust.
always trust.
I switched my tab and I actually saved it. So now it's not signed. Over at the night. Because I can figure out all of the. So to access it. you would have to go to
Oh.
aws.computersstudies/tilde/GC thing
Yeah.
/index.html.
Like that.
Yeah, and then if you had an index.html, you could put index.
Is that like that?
Yeah, slash. Yeah, so you can see that. Like, if you have a file, then you can.
Yeah. How does this have to do with lab?
Because the whole server is built on Linux. Apache server, MySQL database.
Okay. So I'll give that.
Yeah, so that, now that you got, how about MySQL?
Might still work then?
Yeah, that one.
I do have, I
Yeah.
haven't really
That's it.
touched it into this. I mean, I want,
Yeah, I don't need
have to set that up too?
Yeah, just the, well, yes and no, I mean, just for today. But if you don't have it, that's okay too.
Yeah, well, if you go back to your configuration for the MySQL.
Yeah, let me put that.
Yeah, that's the group. That's what I need to do.
There.
Well, yes and no, I mean, just for today's class, if you want to play around, yes, but ultimately, no.
I guess I think that's the roll job.
So let's create a new thing. And we'll just copy what I have up there. And just need to just say that.
Okay.
Host name.
Do I not have the text document?
It's the same thing, the same credentials. Yeah, same. So this one.
So.
Yeah.
A one. Dot. DC, like my using, or. It's the same password?
No, it is, but there's no
Yeah.
install like a whole, like a database server.
Please enter the password. 569 for.
At least 5 different copies.
Oh, you're missing another person.
2002, it says 2002. 2003, yeah.
7 years old.
2023.
Yeah.
So, great. I have all this.
I should be able to.
Yeah, so one thing we'll have to mind, you know, you can find on your computer. This one will, you can find yeah, that's. Oh, yeah. And, yeah, the chart thing that you just did. Yeah, thank you.
We have a new class?
That was what we just did in chart. That was the in class. Yeah, I forgot to mention. Didn't push what?
You didn't push the PTR into vote. You kind of just called it.
Did I?
This is findings.
Let me go back to my code pen. So I did fetch it like after 3 seconds. Is that what you mean?
No, he's saying what's done.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like you hard coded it.
Yeah, I hard coded it. Yeah, but I only did that just to.
What if you wanted to push?
You could. So from here, instead of votes equals, you could say votes.push ... response.json. You could, I suppose. Well, however way you want to put it in the votes array, as long as you do it whatever way, that's fine. Yeah. Yeah, I should mention that. So let me see here. Are we still okay? Great. Yeah, I'll put that in the announcements because I totally forgot. So yeah, the Zing, the CodePen chart that we did, that was our in-class exercise. So submit your CodePen link and you get an easy 2 marks. So I should be able to see some kind of chart here based on your own fetch API here. Okay. And for the lab that's going to come up, what did I have planned for that? I totally forget. Oh, yeah. So basically do 6A and 6B of assignment 2, which is the ask the audience. But I'm just asking for 3 things: your HTML vote page, which is what we just did together, your PHP API that is responsible to collect the votes, which we'll do now, and another API that gives the JSON when you ask for it, which we'll also do now. Okay, so now we're back. Before we create our own API to process the votes, let me just play 5 minutes from this video. There's nothing really much to see here. It's more like just to listen. And the concept that he's talking about is serverless. And the reason I'm touching upon this topic is because what we're about to do when we're creating our own APIs on PHP is the basics of understanding what serverless is. Serverless is a relatively new concept in the JavaScript landscape where you no longer have to be in charge of your own PHP server or whatever server. Rather, you call other services. So for example, the company Stripe, which charges the money, how you transact payments. In your HTML page, in your front end, you can, in your JavaScript code, you can call Stripe's API and get the whole credit card transaction payment thing done, and you don't have to worry about maintaining your own server, right? So contrast that to Comp 1006, where you did PHP. You had to maintain your own server. You had to code your own server in PHP and all of that. But here, in the newer, modern way of developing in the web, you could just call Stripe to do something for you, and it's done. Here, in our little game example, we're going to call PHP to tally the votes. And I know, yes, we are managing PHP ourselves, but just imagine that PHP is sort of like another service that we can just call, and it'll just take care of the votes for us, kind of thing. So I'm going to just play this for 5 minutes, just so that's a. I want to play from 125 onwards. 2, 1.
This video is in React and don't work. So let's get into it. What is serverless? The joke here is constantly that, well, there's no such thing as serverless. It's just someone else's server. As in, serverless does not mean that there is no server involved. It means that you do not have a server that you are going to be managing and putting your entire application on. If you think about it, this is sort of a new thing in the fact that for a long time, even when you were just building straight up websites, whether it was WordPress or Drupal or something like that, you have a server component, and that server is in PHP or Python or Ruby or Node or whatever. You have your server component, and you have to manage and run that entire server. That server then is going to serve up your code, and you'll have to manage that entire server-side component, your API, and all that stuff. Now, the deal with serverless is that you're basically, you're breaking your server up into maybe smaller chunks. Instead of running and managing your own server, you're essentially using a cloud platform, such as some of these that we'll go over in a second, to host various aspects of the things you would need server-side code for. For instance, a serverless platform could be sitting in between your front end and the database and just acting as a way for the API to do what it needs to do. Or potentially it's running individual functions. Like imagine this, you have a serverless app that is simply just compressing images and storing them into Amazon S3. So from the front end of your site, you're sending up an image to this serverless app. The serverless app is creating all the different versions of the image and then storing them in a folder and then maybe saving them to a database and sending them back to you, right? So that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about why you want to do serverless. Well, one, you don't have to administer your own server. You don't have to run your own server. These servers are all managed in the cloud via these different platforms too. Now imagine also that you post to Reddit or something and the application is getting hammered. Well, you can quickly and easily scale up these cloud serverless platforms and have it take care of all of your stuff. And it's also going to make sort of connecting to your various platforms easily. You can have the same sort of serverless cloud platform sitting in between your native app, your mobile app, and all sorts of stuff like that. So this is why serverless is gaining a bit of popularity. Again, it's not necessarily a serverless, it's that you're just not managing your own server. So let's talk about some of these providers. The biggest one has been AWS Lambda, which basically, like it says, run code without thinking of servers, pay only for the compute time you can consume, or you consume, which you can see that pretty much tells you the benefits of serverless right there. And it can save you a little bit of money. You're not running a server 24/7, that kind of stuff. It sort of sits there. Now, I have used AWS Lambda, and I gotta be totally honest, I found certain aspects of Lambda to be less than user-friendly. However, it's still early on in the game. Things can change quite a bit. There's also Microsoft Azure, see your cloud, your vision. See, a lot of these have similar sort of taglines. There's the Google Cloud, right? Use Google's core infrastructure, secure. Again, a lot of these things are really just advertising, hey, it's just code, no server involved, just code. We also have something called the Cloud Functions from IBM. Again, a lot of these different platforms are really just advertising the same thing, just execute code, worry about the server-side code, don't worry about the server itself. So this is really serverless. Now, on top of all of this, there's something called the serverless framework, so serverless.com/framework, and this really allows you to basically deploy your functions without necessarily worrying about some of these stuff. For instance, it's provider agnostic, as in you can configure this thing and then throw it up on Lambda, Azure, Google Cloud, or IBM without necessarily having to worry too much about those platforms individually. It also has a library for plugins, Lingual.
So that's basically the concept of serverless. So we are, in a sense, creating our own serverless with the PHP. Just imagine, we're paying for the compute time whenever you call up our PHP. But yeah, so let's do this. So let's go back to our voting page, our HTML page. If you recall from Comp 1006, how do you capture what was submitted in the form in PHP? Answer, you use something like this, $_post in capital letters. And what does this refer to? This refers to the name of the input field that you assigned, right? So if you say $_post, name of the input field, it looks and returns A, for example, or B, or C, or D, or whatever your button you clicked on, right? So I have this demonstrated here. So I actually put this code in my own AWS, so I'll demonstrate that right now, I think. I think I put it on there. Let me just double check. Maybe I didn't do it. Yeah, no, I did. No, I didn't. Hold on. Yeah. I think it was under week 10, under game 1. I don't remember anymore. That one. Oh yeah, week 10. There it is. Okay, so if let's say for example in my vote HTML page, for the action, I'm going to put the URL to my AWS PHP. So again, just to summarize what's happening here, I took this code I created a file called demo1.php and pasted this code in it. And so if you want to see that file, it's right there. See? So, and then I uploaded this into my AWS. So all it's going to do is it's going to echo on the screen whatever the value is for vote. Let's just test that. So in my vote.html, if I say AWS, you know, I should just put it here. And demo1.php, I think it was. So I'm just gonna copy that URL, put it in here, just for the A button, just to see if it works. Okay. So I got the method post. I got the action. This is the location where the data will be sent to in order to be processed. So let's go into that. Let's open up my vote.html. All right, so here it is. So the only difference is, if you look at the view source, is my A button here. Oh, sorry, it's not just the A button, it's the whole form. Yeah. All the buttons should work. So I put a post and I put an action of that. So let's see what happens. So according to my code, it should grab the vote variable, which was hidden in the input tag under value. So it's always going to output the value of A or B or C, hopefully. Let's see if that works. So if I click on A, vote is A. If you can see that, let's try it again for B. B. Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to do the other ones for the rest. What am I forgetting here? B equals A. Oh, right. Thank you. So if I just had the same kind of form tag for all of them, I'm just going to paste the same form tag for all of them. Again, the way you design it, like Jaden said, why not just have one form? However you choose to do it, as long as you get the right outcome. So A, I got vote is A, B, vote is B, right? C, vote is C, D, vote is D. Okay. Let me put this code. If you want a copy of this code, I'm going to copy it right now into my code pen earlier and save it in my code pen. Go under the CSS section. So here for my Zing chart, I'll put it under CSS. Here. Have it. So we now, if you connect the dots, we have now successfully transferred data from, in this case, an HTML file that's local to my computer that isn't even served anywhere. And if I click on the button, it automatically does a it does a post request to my AWS PHP computer, and that computer successfully captures the value of the input, the hidden input field. Great. What's the next step? What do you think is the next step? Yeah. Yeah, sure. Let me, I think the only difference that I did here was I copied this initial form tag that I did for A and I pasted it into the remaining buttons or the remaining form elements. That's the only difference. Yeah. Okay, so think about it. PHP server now has what button you clicked on. What's the next step? It's to store it in the database, right? You want to keep a collection of all the different votes. As all the people are hitting the button at the same time, you want SQL to handle that. So now this is just a review of your comp 2000 whatever for MySQL. Was it by the way, was it with what's her name? Angie? Was it with her? Yeah, okay. I had Angie too. All right. Okay. So in my next slide here, I don't expect everyone to remember back in their day of MySQL. So I'm giving you the code. This is where MySQL Workbench comes into play if you want to play with it right now. Ultimately, you don't need MySQL Workbench. This is just for play and to familiarize ourselves again with MySQL. So I'm going to open up MySQL Workbench. And you don't have to do this. You can just watch along. I'm going to go into my AWS. Okay. So if you recall, this is just a review. Right here on the left-hand side, this is the name of our database. So before you begin anything in MySQL, what should you do first? You should use it, right? So here I say use my database name, which is the same thing as my login there. How come I'm stuck and crashing? And then after you do that, we're going to create a table to collect the votes. So I've given you in my slide the code here. So if you just copy this, so open up your MySQL Workbench if you want. You can type in use and then type in your GC whatever. And then right after that, type in this, create table. And you don't have to do this now, but if you just want to watch along, that's fine too. Why is this crashing? I don't know. Let's try it again. Window. Try it again. Uh-oh. Trying to press. Is there a hanging workbench? Is workbench here? Try it again. I don't see it. Oh, there it is, off to the side. Okay, let's try it again. I'm going to connect to my AWS. There we go. So the first thing is you say use whatever database, and I'm going to create a table called votes3, just for make it fresh. I run it by clicking the lightning icon there, and as you can see at the bottom, it tells me create table was basically successfully created. As you can see by the green check mark, that means that command is successful. So if I look on the left-hand side under my GC whatever, if I refresh, there's a little refresh icon there, refresh. I should see under tables a new table called votes3, for example. There it is. Now it's currently empty. So just as a review, how do I fill stuff in MySQL? Answer, let me just comment this out so it doesn't run again. Comment this out so it doesn't run again when I click on run. Here is the answer to that. So here is how to fill in a table. You can say insert into the name of your table, which in my case was votes3. And then in brackets, the column name, and then values, the word values, and then in brackets, the actual value that you're inserting. So as you can see here, I'm doing 5 insertions. I'm saying insert into my table, and my table only has 1 column. So I'm insert A, insert B, insert C, insert D, insert A. So basically A has twice as many votes as all the other ones. Yeah, sorry. Can I zoom? Review. Oh. No. Plus does not work. You edit. Control scroll. Thank you. Okay. So I'm going to run this, and that should fill 5 pieces of data. So here we go. Run. Boop. There. As you can see at the bottom, with the green check marks, it's successful. So to test that, I'm just going to do a select star to actually display the data. Right. So here's my select star. Select star from votes3. Let me run that statement alone. run, and there's my table, right? So I only have, now this first column is just an automatic index, auto increment, but this is the one I want, vote. So each time a person, a random person, goes into your vote.html page and they click on A, B, C, or D, it'll automatically enter itself into MySQL. That's the goal, right? Okay, and then finally, once it's all voted, once all the votes are in, we need some way to collect it. So I'm going to give you the code for that too, right here. In MySQL, I said this. I said select vote column. I'm going to rename that vote column as voted. We're going to count all those votes. We're going to call that tally from the votes 3 table, and we're going to group it by vote. So watch what happens when I click on run. Click. Oh, there's an error here. It doesn't like that. You have an error. It doesn't like the by vote for some reason. I don't know why. Why? From votes 3, select vote. What's the matter? Run it again. Okay. Oh, there we go. Yeah, I ran it again. Thank you. I ran it again, and it shows the display here. So here, MySQL gave me a nice little, I don't want to call it an object JSON yet, but this is ultimately what's going to be our JSON object, right? So A has 2 votes, B has 1 vote, and so on. So now that MySQL has done the hard work of tabulating the results, how do we get PHP to connect with the MySQL to get those results, and how to get PHP to echo that out in JSON? So the next step, and I've given you that code in the next slide, is here. So I want you, this is where I want you to do. Actually, I just realized something. I was going to ask you to copy and paste this into your own PHP page and upload it to your own stuff. You can do that, but the problem is you still have yet to create your table, which we'll do in a second. So go ahead and copy this code. I'm assuming, however, that you have your own db.php, which I think for Josh, you may not have that. So I think let me see here. Okay. Give me a second there. Need to. How do I just stop it or pause it? This one? I don't want to stop the broadcast, but okay, whatever. If you see my password, that's fine. So for those of you who don't have db.php, let me show you what you need to do. And I should have put this as a slide, and I think I'll do that right now. So give me a moment. HP. Okay, here we go. Let me copy. Let me just paste what I have first, and then editing my slides as I go. Here we go. So that, paste it here. This anymore. I do want what I just copied. Oh, that's not it. That's it. There, I think that's good to go. Save. Let me just see if that is successful. Refresh my slides locally. There we go. Oh, there it is. So I just have to relabel the save. You don't want my password there. Okay. Let me upload that real quick to my slides. Refresh this. Can I refresh that. And this is my week 10 folder. Yes. That overwrite. Yes. Great. Okay, so if you refresh my link for my slides, you should now have a new slide in there called db.php. So in order to connect to MySQL, you need this. So create your file, name it db.php, and just copy and paste all of this, and just so your credentials for the username and password, and you're good to go. So there's 3 things you should change it. Number 1 is the username field here. Number 2 is the password field here, and number 3, this DB name here. Okay. I should have changed to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. All right, great. So now that hopefully you got that. Oh, this is okay. Yeah, okay. Hold on. I'll do it on GitHub as well. Git add, git commit, edits, git push. There. So now it's on GitHub as well. All right. So the next thing I want you to do, again, we still have to create our table, so this won't quite work yet. But I want you to create your own vote.php page, and I want you to upload that into your AWS. Okay. So copy the code here. And as you can see here, what we're really doing is, just like the code before, we're using the $_post to grab the value of our hidden input element. So this $vote will end up being A, for example. It'll echo out vote is A, and then it'll immediately connect to our MySQL database and insert A into our table called votes, which we have yet to create. And then it'll execute that and disconnect. Okay. All right, so to create the table, I thought I created a slide for this too. Did I not? Oh, it's there. Okay. Inside my GitHub repo, you will see a file called resetvotes.php, which is responsible for creating the table. So download that. So copy, paste the code. So let me show you that in my GitHub. So GitHub, AV Coder, repositories, week 10. There's a file there called reset vote. So copy that into your own AWS. So, copy it, paste locally to VS Code, create a file called resetvotes.php, upload that PHP file using FileZilla into your LAMP stack. However you want to choose to do it. Let me explain the code here a little bit. So again, we're requiring the DB, and all I'm saying here is every time I call this API, every time I say fetch resetvotes.php, it's gonna immediately erase the table that's there. That's why I say drop table. And then it's going to try to recreate it after that. It'll create the table again. So I always will have a fresh start whenever someone clicks on Ask the Audience. So the goal is when someone clicks on Ask the Audience, it'll drop the table. So it's gone. It'll recreate the table immediately after. So it's there, fresh, and then people can start voting. Okay. And then the final thing is, okay, you've collected all the votes into your MySQL. How are you going to fetch the JSON data? Here's the answer. The next slide, api.php. So copy this code into your LAMP stack. And let me just explain what's happening here. Oops. So I'm using that same exact statement as before, where I say select vote as voted, and it's going to give me that quote unquote object where it tallies all the votes, right? So that's what this line does. So by the time I execute it, it'll give me an array of votes. So I want to focus on this line right here, where it says votes equals command fetch all. This fetch all, right? That will give me multiple rows of data, A, B, C, and D. It'll put that array in votes, and then I immediately say JSON encode votes, and then echo that out. And then you get your JSON. Okay, so let's see if this works. I uploaded all those files already into my LAMP stack. Let me see if that works. And I'm going to open up MySQL Workbench just to test. Okay, just to test. And here you go. So I opened up MySQL Workbench. I'm going to use the table votes now instead of votes 3. That was my original table. I'm saying select star from votes, and as you can see, it gives me previous votes that I tested before. So what do you think will happen if I do a fetch reset votes.php? It should drop this table, immediately recreate the table so it's fresh and new, empty, and ready to go. Let's test if that happens. Okay, so let's double check here. Where is my thing? Right. So I have my dbd PHP, I have my API there, and my reset votes. Okay, good. So it's under game 1 for me. Let's test this out. Now, I could say in JavaScript land, fetch the reset blah 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 PHP, but might as well just do it in the address bar because that's a GET request anyway. Just So let's say HTTP. What is it? HTTP AWS game 1 / reset votes.php, I think. Okay, so just imagine I'm doing a fetch to this, but I'm just doing this as a shorthand just to be quick. Enter. Okay, I don't know if it did anything. Let's test. I don't know. Let's go into MySQL Workbench and test. We'll see. Let's see. So I have a select star from votes. Before it had this. Let's run it now. I expect it to be empty. I could be wrong. Let's see. Run. Oh, it has something else. That's funny. Reset votes didn't. It did something. Did it do something, or was that there before? That's what I'm wondering. Was that always there, or? Am I in the right path? Let's see here. I'm to game 1. Try that again. AWS. And then game 1. Oh, maybe I was in the wrong path. Reset HP. Let's try that one. Oh, there we go. I was in the wrong path. Sorry, I was in the wrong path. Reset votes. Yeah, that's right. I forgot that I did output a message reset. As you can see in my reset votes code here, I do say echo out something there. I echo message reset just to prove that it's done successfully. So now if I go into MySQL Workbench, I should anticipate that my previous data from the votes table should be dropped and recreated if I run it. try it, run for select. Oh, now why does it still have data there? And it's different data too. Wait, hold on. Is there code here that I'm, oh, yeah. Did I want, oh yeah, sorry. The reason I'm getting a false positive is because I forgot to comment this statement which is using votes 3, so we don't want that. Sorry. Okay, so now if I do a select star on vote, I should get an empty table. Yes? Yes, there it is. Okay, so just step back and think just what happened. Just by typing a URL, you submitted a GET request to another computer that automatically dropped a MySQL table and recreated it. It's like you could probably program that computer to make coffee if you wanted, right? You just, by doing GET requests, you just made another computer do something. That's the power of serverless, if you will. Okay. All right. So we dropped it. Now let's try voting. So I'm going to go back to my vote.html page, which is not even served anywhere, but it is using a GET request behind the, or a POST request rather. So if I click on A right now, that does a POST request to my, oh shoot, is it the proper API? I think it is. Oh, no, it's not. It should go game1, and I called it api.php, did I not? Okay. Let me change that. So game1, and do the same thing for my other ones. Let's just do multiple cursor here. One, api.php, save. Okay, so all of them have the right, hopefully the right thing. And we'll check it out. So refresh, okay. I'm gonna click on A right now. So if I click on A, it should go to the right PHP URL. It should send the value of A through that post request. PHP should grab it using the $_ post vote, and then put into MySQL. And so if I go to MySQL Workbench after this, I should see one vote of A. Let's try it. Oh, that's weird. Okay, well, anyways, we'll see what MySQL Workbench is. So if I say select star from votes, run it. Yes, maybe? Almost. No, nothing. What did I do wrong? And why is this giving me an empty thing? It should have given me you voted A. So why didn't that work? Is that the right URL? Just, let me see here. You can get it to work on yours. You let me know. You got it worked on yours? Let me see here. Game1. API.php. Oh, right. Yes. I forgot to mention one thing that I forgot to mention. This. Back in my slides, notice how I commented the first line here, because I wanted to mention this. The reason it's not working for me right now is because this whole idea of something called CORS. Show of hands who's heard of CORS, C-O-R-S. CORS. So right now, it's not working because we forgot to set this parameter, and that's why I commented out. I should uncomment that out, and I believe this should work now. So what this statement of access control allow origin is, you're basically saying, yes, go ahead and trust this. This is okay to trust. You can run it, or you can take it in, you can consume it. Because if you don't have that, it's against the browser rules of allowing other JavaScripts to come into run inside your own page, and so you don't. Usually that's a security hazard, but because we want it to work, you have to uncomment this line. I believe that's the reason why it's not working. But then again, let me just double check. Game1 api.php. Let's see. Bring it in here for a second. API.php. Oh, I did have it uncommented, so that's not the reason. Header. Oh, that's why. My PHP is looking at the wrong path for my DB. That and upload it. Refresh. Let me upload API again. Right. Okay. I think it was wrong because I had the wrong path for my required DB, I think. We'll see. So let's try that again. Open up my vote. Okay, let's test MySQL Workbench. Select star from votes. It should be empty. It is. On A. Now I still should have seen vote. Okay, so why isn't that working? If I do select star, what does it say? It's empty. Double check. So the question is, am I pointing my API? Oh, yeah. Shoot. I have the wrong API. That's what's happening. Try that. Okay. Again. Let's go back to vote. Okay. Click on A. Aha. Vote is A. And then if I go to my SQL Workbench, if I say select star from votes, run, woohoo, 1A. Let's try for the other ones. So if I say B, okay, vote is B. If I say C, okay, vote is C. If I say D, vote is D. If I say A again, that means there's 2 votes for A. Okay, now go back to my SQL Workbench and run it. I should see all of that. Run. Woohoo. 1. Oh, yeah. Okay, so it's just saying, okay. Yeah, it's just giving everything, every row, right? Because it's not giving my my nice succinct. So it collects all the votes. That's great. So now if I want to fetch from that, now I call the API.phps, right? So API, just as a reminder, is this code here. So what this does is it looks at my table, it does this stuff, which gives me 4 rows of A, B, C, and D, and gives me a tally of the votes, and echoes out JSON echo encode, echo the JSON votes, right? So let's go to that API now and see if that's true. Test that theory. Go here. So I think it's called for me API.php. So again, this should give me, aha. You see, now this is kind of weird. You see like this 0, 1 for all of them, but all that does is, I think it's just MySQL's or PHP's way of saying 0 is the same thing as voted, 1 is the same thing as tally. So you could use either one. You could use the array method of object, or you could use the dot method for these other ones, right? So you could use these for the array method of your objects, or you could use these ones for the dot. You say dot voted, dot tally, whatever. The values are the same though. Okay. So now if I do a fetch of that, so let's try this. I'm gonna grab this URL. I'm gonna go back into my CodePen that we started with the graph earlier with the bar chart. And so instead of fetching from our JSON bin.io, we're gonna fetch it from our AWS just to see if it works. Right? So let's go to CodePen, public. Here it is. So I'm just gonna replace, so forget this. Let's put that out. Let votes equals empty array. Then the fetch, I'm going to change this fetch to my, oh shoot, I think CodePen. Let me paste it. I don't think it'll work though. Oh wait, hold on. How come I'm seeing ABC? Did I read something? What? Say it again. What I mess up? Never pushed it. Hold on. Why do I have all these? Oh shoot. Leave that for now. Oh crap. What did I just do? Okay, right. Okay. After 1 second there. Okay. So now I think the problem is Georgian's LAMP stack, AWS, is not using HTTPS, it's just using HTTP. And I believe CodePen, which uses HTTPS, will say, sorry, I don't take any old HTTP stuff anymore. It has to be HTTPS. So let me just double check if that's right. So I'm not seeing anything. If I go into the inspect console, you'll see like, yeah, see, it was loaded over HTTPS, but the requested is an insecure resource because it's using HTTP. So in CodePen, it's not going to work, but I believe if we did this locally, it would work. So let me just let me just make a local file called test.html or demo.html. I'm just going to quickly copy the HTML into here. The HTML will go into here. Oh. And then the JavaScript, I'll just put the script here. And the JavaScript will go here. Save. I think that should work. Let's try it out. Let's open up demo locally. Demo, will it work? After 1 second? Not quite. Oh, there's a cannot read from undefined draw chart. Can we probably tally of undefined draw chart? Hold on. Let me try that again. Y. Oh, right, because, oh yeah, okay. Forget this last draw chart. Actually, forget this, that's how much too. That should work. Save. Fresh, please. Man. There's nothing showing in the console. Oh, because I still have that 2 grid post. Okay, in line 26. Oh. Usually when I see this kind of error, unexpected token in JSON at position 1, the first characters, it tells me that this. Oh, wow. I didn't want that. I wanted the API. Oh, but because I called that, I think it just reset everything. Yeah? Empty, crap, okay. Sorry, let me fill it up again. Open up my vote. A, B, C, D, again. So my MySQL workbench should be filled. Yes, yes. Go back to here, refresh. Oh wait, this one, refresh. All right. I think it worked. Oh, I had 3. Oh, what is this? Is this the opposite of what I? Oh, interesting. So it's doing kind of the opposite of I don't know why 3 is the lowest though. Oh, okay. Yes, I know it's stickers on anyone who can tell me what's happening. The problem is that our Zing chart expects an integer, a number, but we're passing in a string. So back in our code, in our demo, when we're changing that series of values here, this is we're passing in strings here. and we need to pass in a number. So let me do a parse int for all of them. Save. Try it again. Refresh. Ta-da! Isn't that cool? We just created our own Kahoot kind of thing, right? Yes? All right. So take 15-minute break, and we'll come back with the Vue CLI stuff. There we go.
That's all.
Yeah, let me.
The screen cap.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna commit it to my Git right now. So everything that you just saw, let me go to add it. Git add dot git commit, woohoo, and then git push. Now it's all in my week 10 folder. Ta-da! Yeah. So the lab, by the way. What was that? Oh, really? Oh, you're right. So I just missed that whole thing? Oh, all just for trying to hide my password, which I didn't even do.
That's where it's in the top.
Oh,
That's what I was trying to tell you. That won't stop the broadcast.
okay. So if let me try that. Stop broadcast. Wait, so how do I?
That just stops.
Oh, does it pause? Share. Okay, yeah, you're right. All right, I think you're right. Okay, so I just realized that for the past hour, you were seeing my belly button. So just know that it's all on GitHub. I will try to do it again over the weekend. What I just did, hopefully more succinct. And but in reality, you have everything you need to hand in your lab, because the lab, I just say, give me your vote.html page. Give me your URL to your vote.php, and give me your apa.php link. And that's all I'm asking. So, I mean, you have all the code. So if you just upload the stuff to your stuff, you have it all. But I'm hoping that you'll understand what we did. That's my goal. Yeah, question, Joel. Yeah. So to get MySQL Workbench connected, let me close this up for you. So you click on plus here, right? And then for this stuff here, actually, you know what? I'm going to open up my login so you can see the fields. So here's my login. I will edit connection. So the first field here, you could just name it anything you want. The important thing is this one here. Host name has to be this, and the username is yours. And then you just put your password in the vault. I have 3306, that's the default. Oh, really? 443? Oh, you know what? That's probably for SFTP instead of FTP. Or no, sorry, no. I know. Forget what I just said. I don't even know. But yeah, it should be 3306. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, and it should work. Okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to follow the votes and because like you had different guys. I wasn't following. Like I wasn't able to get the file. Like when I went to your GitHub. Refresh this.
So that one, I still have. Is this working?
It doesn't necessarily have to be that. So I will have.
One too many.
So we're just gonna. Yep, I got the. Yeah.
That's kind of set too. Probably. Probably gonna do like a trillion.
So, Albert.
Yeah, yes.
So that would be same internet.
Correct. Yeah.
Password would be the one that
Same. Yeah.
would be sent to us.
Yeah. I think it's already in my GitHub, I think. In my week 10, I think. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's right there, demo. Demo HTML and demo. Is it the demo HTML that you're looking for? Yeah. So I'm gonna try to create another video over the weekend to capture that. Yeah. And it was just that last second half hour, right? Okay. Yeah. Say that again? Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Thank you. I struggle sometimes whether or not to prepare for this class in terms of like, okay, here's the code I'm going to do. Let's do it to make sure it's smooth. And this code, I did not prepare for this class. And that's why you got all these bugs. But interestingly enough, when I taught a course in the summer, there was one class I did not prepare. And then, as predicted, I got all these bugs. But then at the end of the class, I asked the class, which do you prefer better? The one where it's smooth or the one where I'm trying to figure out what's happening? They all said the bugs one is better because they learn more.
You're teaching us debug.
Well, my debugging skills aren't the best because I just kind of look at the. You're laughing because what I just said. Okay, yeah, because for me it's like I just kind of look at the code and say, oh yeah, that's why it's not working, instead of me actually going through a debugger. Yeah. You don't have to incorporate it into your assignment. I just am basically, is your infrastructure there for you to use for your assignment? Yeah. 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 Oh yeah. So in my case, the reason was it was going to the wrong API. But when I see that error message, I immediately think, oh, look at the URL that you're trying to fetch, because whatever it's returning is not JSON. It's something else. Looking at HTML, first character. That's what it's seeing right now. So where is that? Yeah. That's where it's coming from.
Oh, good question.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Yeah, I did.
This is just for the comparison and to see.
And
Okay, so we're back from the break. Again, I will try to make a video for that second half, third hour, whatever, just so that you don't see my belly button. And now we can move on to a new topic, which is dealing with a Vue CLI. So what I'm about to teach now is how you develop Vue apps the real professional large-scale way. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to introduce you to what this command does, and I'd like for you to try this command on your computer. So assuming you've already installed Node, which should be everybody, I want you to install or type this line out, which will install something called the Vue CLI, command line interpreter. So I've already done that. And where do you do that? Let me close up. Let me just close up everything for a second. Close folder. Open a folder. So I want everyone to create a folder in their, if you're using Windows, I want you to create a folder on your C:users, name, whatever your name is, and then in there, create a folder called Node. Okay. So again, in your C drive, C:users, your name, create a folder called Node, and then go into that folder. And so open VS Code to be in that folder. No, I only say users only because the majority of you are going to take Rich Freeman's class next season, and he's going to ask you to do the same thing. So I might as well help him out a bit. And so if you just say C:users, your name, and create a folder called Node, then you got 50% of your coursework done for next year. Okay, so in that folder, I want you to go to the terminal command line here. So I'm assuming all of you have already type that command npm install -g at Vue CLI. So if you haven't done so already, you could do that now. By the way, install, the shorthand form is I, so you could just say npm I instead of npm install. -g at Vue/CLI. So just make sure you run that. I've already run it, so I don't have to run that. And once you've done that, oh, hold on. Just grab something else here. So what I'm going to show you is how to create Vue apps using the CLI way, which is, again, the way you should use Vue if you're creating larger scale apps or more professional apps. And for those of you, 2 of you have already taken the Node course from last year, this will kind of look familiar when you did Angular, when you said ng space create my project, and it gives you that scaffold list of, it's kind of the same thing. So in here, you'd say this, Vue create, and then give it a name of your project. So I'm just going to say, you know, temp project. I don't know, get whatever name you want, right? And then enter. And what I'm teaching you today is not going to be, you don't have to use this. I'm not marking this. This is just for your knowledge. So you don't have to use this for your assignment, but this is, you know, because Angular and React, they all operate the same kind of way. So you should see this kind of menu on the screen where it's asking you which preset you want. We're going to choose the default for now, but if we were to select the manual, let me show you. So don't do this. I just want to show you. If I selected the manual, check out all the different toys I get to play with. Stuff you've heard of, stuff you haven't heard of. So Babel, you get Babel out of the box. You can have TypeScript, which you'll use for next year's class when you're dealing with Angular. You can have progressive web app support, which I'm excited to play with because I have yet to learn that, but I'm hoping to teach that in a couple of weeks from now. You can have the router. The router means, let's say in your Vue app, someone goes to your website / some path. Instead of doing a GET request on some path, the router will hijack it so it doesn't actually do a GET request, and it'll serve up some other JavaScript or HTML that you've previously coded, right? So it's faster. You get that native-like experience. You get something called Vuex, which I think Umar said he was going to do for his presentation, which is Vuex is at some point in time when your Vue apps get really large, you want Vuex or some kind of state handler where Vuex will handle the state of your app, because otherwise it'll get too hairy if all your different components are talking to each other. You can choose whatever CSS preprocessors you want, Sass, less, whatever. You get linter out of the box, and you can choose unit testing like Jest or E2E testing. So that's that. Let me go back to, for now, let's just choose the default one. Let's see if I can get back. Oh, I have to Control-C out of that. So just for now, choose the default one, default Babel ESLint, and it should be running some code now. Yeah, so Vue CLI, it allows you to set up all these different folders and files. It basically scaffolds the project for you, so you don't have to waste time in terms of making sure you got the right folder in the right spot, making sure you got the right file name in the right spot, making sure all the files and components are talking to each other. It gives you a default web page already with all the correct folders and files, and everything's connected, and all you have to do is kind of modify that to make it your own. Okay, and the reason why it's doing this is because, as you'll see in a second, this is not your typical Comp 1006 anymore. This is not your typical create your index HTML, create your CSS, create your JS, and then just upload 3 files. No, this is something much more complex, and you'll see in a second why that is. Underneath the hood, it's using something called Webpack. Any show of hands who's heard of Webpack? Webpack, okay. Webpack, the functionality of that is it'll take all your different components. So remember how we did components last time? Oh, it's done. Okay, perfect. I can stop rambling. So you'll see it more clearly here. So let me see here. Let's go into what I just said. I said, for me, I said temp project. Okay, so I want you to examine your folder structure now. So hopefully it's finished by now. And I want you to just look at it. Just want you to look at it. Look at the structure. So the first thing you'll notice is there is this thing called node modules. This is the directory where all the dependencies are listed. So anytime you're using Node and trying to do stuff in Node, it will create a node modules folder for you and put all the dependencies in there. All the JavaScript code is in there. So when you say stuff like, oh, I forget now, reading a file, it'll look in node modules to know how to do that kind of thing. Public. Right now, under public, it has this index.html file. Go ahead and open that up for a second. Index.html. You'll notice it has no body, really, except this one line, div ID equals app. Does that look familiar from our experience with Vue? So you can imagine what's going to happen now is that at the end of the day, it's just going to target that one div app, and your whole web page, single web application will be just dynamically inserted in that one app. And every time a user modifies it, it'll just dynamically change. It doesn't do a GET request at all. It just stays on the same page and just changes. Okay. What else do I want to say? It also gives you this source file, this source folder. So open up the source folder for a second. And this is where it gets really cool with regards to components. So under assets, you can have images, etc. But check this out. Click on components, and you'll see these files that end with a .vue extension, a .vue extension. Let me show you what this does. So if you go back to the terminal line, and you say this, you say npm. Oh, wait, I should say this too. Open up your file called package.json. Next year's class, you will definitely have more experience with package.json. The only thing I want to highlight here is this section called scripts. Anything that you see in scripts, you can run. So here, it says if you want to run this line, then this word is what you need to run. So watch this. So if I say in my terminal line, if I say npm run, and then the name of that serve, hold on, what's happening here? Am I in the wrong? Yeah, I'm in the wrong thing. cd temp whatever. Try it again. npm run serve. Starting a web server for you. Isn't that cool? It has its own built-in web server. And it's going to open it up right now. There it is. So localhost 8080. So if I go to that link, there. This is the default website that this is giving me. But check it out. So go back to our code for a second. I want everyone to click on this app.vue. Notice the structure of this file. This is not your typical HTML file. First of all, it ends with .vue, so if you try to run this on a browser, it won't do anything. But notice how in this one file, you have HTML markup, JavaScript, and the CSS. And notice here in line 4, it's actually using a component called Hello World. Where is that component? It is right here under the components folder. If you open up the components folder, open up hello world.vue, open that file up, you'll see the rest of the markup. Here's, again, the HTML. Scroll down, you'll see the JavaScript. Scroll down, you'll see the styling for that component. Okay, so if you change something on either app.vue or hello world.vue, you should see a change, right? So let's try changing the message. So welcome to, welcome to prompt 2112. As soon as I say save, I go to my page, it automatically refreshes. The big idea here, however, is notice how it's structured. You have the HTML here, the script here, and the styling here. Some of you might be thinking, yeah, but wait a minute, Albert, back in comp whatever days of Georgian, you know, so-and-so taught me that you have to have the separation concerns, you know, HTML is the base layer, CSS is next, and JS is next, and make sure they never, you know, interweave kind of thing. I want to play a 5-minute video. We're gonna watch 5 minutes of this. It's the same video that we saw with Evan before. He's talking about his philosophy about that. And I thought it was really interesting. So we're gonna watch from 2546.
Following that. So the fundamental problem you get in return is that when you look at a store definition, you'll see this stage shape. You'll see all the mutations.
Oh,
You instantly
there it is.
have all the
There it
store
is.
libraries that helps us, you know, complete a library stack for building large-scale applications. Then comes the problem of build system and development experience. So if you are not using a build system today, you're probably intimidated by how complex they are, right? So Laravel Elixir is doing a great job in, you know, hiding a lot of these configuration details and just exposing a very simple to use API. And Vue wants to do that too. And we want to make sure that you don't have to jump through tons of hoops just to be able to get some of the great benefits of modern developer tooling. So we have this concept called a single file view component. This might be too small for you to see, but each component consists of 3 parts: template, script, and the style tag. Well, this looks like just like HTML, but we give it a special extension so that we get a proper syntax highlighting. And the difference from between a single file view component and a normal HTML file is that you can use arbitrary preprocessors in each of those tags. So notice that the template tag has an attribute called len equals jade. That allows you to use a different templating language that compiles down to HTML. And in the script, we're using, by default, it uses Babel to compile your JavaScript from ES 2015 into ES5 that's supported down to IE9. And in the style tag, you can just use len equals sass to use sass. And you can also make the CSS strictly scoped to the current component by adding the scoped attribute. So when you use scoped CSS, it makes sure your CSS rules are local to this component only, and you don't need to worry about selectors accidentally polluting the styles of another component. And all of this looks very similar to web components, which is something pretty different. So Polymer is the library Google developed that's built on top of web components. Our primary difference is that Vue's component system is built around module bundler tooling. So you would have to use this with either Webpack or Browserify. The benefits when you use that is all this code is eventually compiled down to a JavaScript module. So when you import, so notice that we are exporting the component definition in the script section. So what you can do is you can import this file as a JavaScript module in another JavaScript file. When you import it, you just get the object with the CSS and the template already compiled and handled for you. And that makes it then you can have these components coexist with your normal JavaScript files, and your whole app is just a coherent bundle. And there are many other extra benefits. So we already talked about imported as the ES 2015 module, the collocation of template logic and style. Some people are concerned about the separation of concern. And my opinion is that separation by language is not a separation of concern. Separation of concern in the front-end application is the separation of by components. The component is the basic unit of concern that you need to worry about. And The template, the script, and the style are implementation details that inherently belong together when you're thinking in terms of components. And it just makes it much easier so that because you don't have to jump between contexts. You don't have to like jump between a template file back to JavaScript and then back to CSS and trying to figure out how they affect each other, because things in the same file, they belong to the same component. And you can just choose what you already know, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, or any preprocessors that you like. And we have scope CSS. One thing to note is we also support hot reloading the component, which means when you edit the component, the page doesn't reload. Only the components that has changed will be basically time travel into the state that it should be in. It's a fancy feature that we don't have an official integration with Laravel yet.
Okay. So yeah, so the whole big idea is he made a lot of really good points there. The big idea is, in order for a browser to run this, obviously you can't run this because it's, first of all, it's a .view extension. But what's going to happen under the hood is something called Webpack is going to take your scripts from all the different components, compile it into one JavaScript file, and so that once it's done compiling everything, you have one folder with index.html, one JavaScript, one CSS, and that's it. And that will contain everything from all the components. Okay, and that's the way its web development is heading, is currently right now. So I just wanted to introduce this structure just to get your eyes familiar with how it looks and just the basics of it, because I know for next year for Angular you'll get a similar kind of thing. Okay, again, you don't have to use this for your assignment, but it's just good to know. And that is basically all I had to teach today. Any other questions or comments? Jaden. Okay, yeah, how do I get all the files show up? No problem. So I originally said view create temp project. Right? And this assumes that you've already installed the npm. This one, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, I think that's all I had for today. Yeah, as long as you, for the in-class exercise. Yes, exactly. So for the in-class exercise, use your own API that you got from JSON bin, I believe it was. And then you have a chart showing up based on that data. That's good to go. And then for the lab, when I say do 6A and 6B, that's basically the ask the audience one. So I need to see your vote.html page. I need to see your vote.php page. And your API.php. So just give me the URLs to those things. That's all. Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, technically you could just copy and paste what I did and just upload it. I wouldn't know, but again, it's just the whole point is just hopefully you understood that under the hood. Hopefully you got a kick out of that, how everything's communicating with each other, you know, from one computer to another computer out there to my own, like just how it all connects the dots. That's what I love. It connects the dots. So cool. All right, see ya next week, and I'll try to make that video to replace my belly button section.